Abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Call me a radical.
Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The Constitution, I feel like it's outdated.
I think that our Constitution that we have for America is to some degree outdated.
A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose.
Every white person is racist. And
get the off of here, stand your racist.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
We should also ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Hogs to win, see you. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
Hello, Patriots. Tonight, Argentina takes the biggest step towards freedom in history since the American Revolution, and let me explain that. We're going to go over that in detail tonight. I talk about it constantly to you on this show that America has lost its way. America today would be absolutely unrecognizable by our founding fathers. They would be disgusted at some of the policies and practices that happen within our government. Now, the modern Libertarian Party is what the Republican Party used to be. The advocates for way less government, for government intervention, to get rid of government programs, to get rid of all of these government agencies. But the Republican Party has fell guilty to extreme compromise and in sometimes just laying down for this socialist agenda on the left, this socialist, communist, complete totalitarian government control on the left. And we've seen evidence of that. But tonight we're going to talk about Argentina. Now, Argentina has been a socialist-controlled country for decades, and their economy has just completely gone into the dump. And that's what happens with socialist countries. That's what happens with totalitarian countries. So the people of Argentina are just so fed up with it that they elected what you would call an extreme right-wing anti-government candidate. And that's how governments are supposed to be run. That's how this government was ran, certainly from the American Revolution up past the War of 1812. And then the American Civil War was the last fight for the American individual rights and states' rights, even though the Constitution clearly says not to declare war on them, meaning the states. Lincoln went ahead and did it anyway, totally centralizing the federal government's power and control over the states. We could talk about that, but that would take all night. So the libertarian candidate, Javier Milei, he wins in Argentina. And this is the first libertarian that has been elected in any government in the history of the world. Immediately the left-wing government, the left-wing media, a strong arm comes out and starts bashing him. Now they're doing this because this is an absolute threat to their agenda. If Argentina goes from socialism to limited government, minimum government programs, eliminating the Federal Reserve in Argentina, and it works, which it will, because that's how governments are supposed to work, that's how successful governments work. If that happens, then the left is going to be completely illegitimized, as they should be. They are completely illegitimate. Their thoughts on government are just plainly wrong. So all the left-wing media is coming together in the United States to push this this election down, and of course make him a radical, extremist, conspiracy theory leftist. So this is from the New York Times. Argentina elects Javier Milei in victory for far right, extremely far right. But the problem is that they always associate the far right with Nazism, which is just on the left because it's totalitarian control. So here they're admitting that they're wrong about the right-left spectrum, which I have always said. The further right you go, the closer you get to anarchy. The further left you go, the closer you get to centralized, powerful government. So the right is always right and the left is always wrong when it comes to individual freedoms. Argentina's next president is a libertarian economist whose brash style and embrace of conspiracy theories has parallels with those of Donald Trump. Yes, we have to associate him with Donald Trump. We have to make him out to be a radical, far-right Nazi. Yes, because Nazis were all about no government, getting rid of government programs. It makes sense. The Washington Post. Argentina set for sharp right turn as Trump-like radical wins presidency. Now, we all know that this is just nonsense. Anytime they want to label anybody that's far right or extremist like Donald Trump would certainly be assassinated in the public opinion. But the people of Argentina have spoken. They do not want socialism whatsoever. He did not just win, he dominated the vote. It wasn't even fair. He completely crushed his opposition because the people are tired of living in abject poverty. They've been reduced to absolute despotism. I mean, the food inflation's been up 130% in Argentina. That's what happens under leftist policy and leftist control. This is what we've constantly seen over the history of the world. FDR prolonged the Great Depression through his socialist policies. We saw insane inflation and economic downgrading under Barack Obama. We're seeing the same thing under Joe Biden. We're seeing there's a trend with Democrat liberal presidents and bad economies. And that's because these socialist far left policies do not work. Here is a news report on this, an American news report on this election.
Argentina elected the right-wing libertarian Javier Milei as its new president on Sunday. Voters rolled the dice on an outsider with radical views to fix an economy battered by runaway inflation, giving Milei, an economist and former TV pundit, a clear win with 56% of the ballots. He appears to have successfully harnessed a wave of public anger with Argentina's political mainstream.
Today brings an end to the impoverishing model of the omnipresent state that only benefits some while the majority of Argentines suffer. Today we retake...
That's the perfect description of any socialist government. It only helps some, and it typically helps the politicians line their pockets.
The path that made this country great. Today we embrace the ideas of libertarianism.
Milei's rival, Economy Minister Sergio Massa, conceded before official results were out. In a speech that lightly veiled his centrist concerns over Milei, Massa said Argentina expected the new president to, quote, provide certainty and guarantees to the functioning of political, social and economic systems. Yet it is Milei's promise to shake everything up that seems to have lured these celebrating supporters to his camp.
Argentina needed a change, and that's why I bet on this new proposal.
I want a change for my country that I deeply love. We've been suffering many years of decadence, and this seemed to me like a good option. No more of the same. Enough already with Peronism. We already know them.
The challenges facing Milei are enormous.
The challenges facing Milei are enormous. He's a radical.
Government and central banks' empty coffers to a $44 billion debt program with the International Monetary Fund and inflation nearing 150%. He's pledging economic shock therapy with plans to shut the central bank, ditch the peso for the dollar, and slash spending, pushing for minimal state intervention in line with the libertarian ethos.
That's how you fix economies. So in your own personal household, if you're spending more money than you're taking in, and you're like, oh my God, I need to fix this problem, what do? You say, okay, I need to stop spending money on this, I need to stop spending money on that, and then I can put X amount in savings. Our government doesn't work that way. Socialist governments don't work that way. And yes, the United States government has become socialist. It's not complete and totalitarian socialism, but there is socialism in the United States. It's been paid for and bought over years and years and years. Our national debt is in trillions and trillions of dollars. But that's how you fix the problem. You get rid of the central bank that's taking on all this debt and not regulating the economy at all, just making it worse and creating higher levels of inflation. You decrease spending and you lower taxes and people live better lives.
He used to carry around a chainsaw in a symbol of his planned cuts, but shelved it in recent weeks in favor of a more moderate image. The eccentric 53-year-old is also staunchly anti-abortion, backs looser gun laws, and has criticized the progressive Pope Francis. Milei faces a highly fragmented Congress with no single bloc having a majority. This means he will need backing from other factions to push through legislation. After October's first-round vote, Milei struck an uneasy alliance with the country's main conservative bloc.
So that's the mainstream media's take on it. I mean, that was actually a fairer look than I've seen. But Argentina has had serious problems. Serious problems. Here's a CBS Morning report. Of course, CBS is one of those leftist programs. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Coming from the far right, Javier Milei won a convincing victory in yesterday's presidential election with a promise to sharply cut government spending and tackle the country's worst economic crisis in decades. Says he'll bring a chainsaw to the economy. In fact, he brought a chainsaw to many of his campaign rallies as a prop. Also, he cloned his dog. That's what he's known for. Ed O'Keefe has this very strange story.
A massive political shakeup in Argentina. Javier Milei, far-right economist and television personality, joined the political fray just 3 years ago. Now he's in charge of the third largest economy in Latin America, as it teeters on the edge of disaster.
Porque hoy comienza la reconstrucción de Argentina.
Today, the reconstruction of Argentina begins.
Milei rode to power on a wave of popular discontent over a stagnating economy with a 40% poverty rate and inflation nearing 150%.
40% poverty rate. Wasn't Argentina one of those places they used to use as an example for universal health care and how socialism works? Remember that? Barack Obama? Does anybody remember that? Oh, yeah, but now it just doesn't work. Interesting.
This woman says she supports Milei because she's looking for change in Argentina, a country she says has been suffering from years of decadence. He became known for his unorthodox showmanship during the campaign, wielding a chainsaw to symbolize his war on government spending, threatening vital public services.
There's no such thing as a vital public service. There is no such thing as a vital public service. Government exists for 2 reasons. 2 reasons. That's it. That's the only purpose of government. This is American political thought. This is the political thought of the colonialist revolutions. This is political thought of Jeffersonians and John Locke. This is political thought 101 for individual freedom. It exists for 2 reasons. Number 1, the only reason it exists, the main reason it exists, is to defend your natural rights from being violated from another person. Now, your natural rights come from Augustine and Aquinas, and it's the natural law theory that you are free to do whatever you desire to do in this world as long as you do not violate the rights of another. So that's full. It's loaded in the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is basically an essay on natural law theory and how it applies and how the King of Great Britain has violated the natural rights of the citizens of the United States. My property is my property. My life is my life. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? Now, Jefferson wrote Life, Liberty, and Pursuit of Happiness, and John Locke, who preceded him, wrote Life, Liberty, and Property. Jefferson removed property and put pursuit of happiness because he did not want that to embody slavery, because he was completely against slavery, even though he owned slaves himself. It's a whole different story. But the natural law is simple. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you don't hurt somebody else. That's it. And the only reason government exists is if I enter into, if I break the social contract and I go next door and I take my neighbor's TV and I take his property or I take his life, then I forfeit my own, right? But the government has expanded way beyond that. They've expanded into every aspect, every realm of our entire lives. There's nothing you can do in this world that doesn't violate some law. There's 4,400 federal laws on the books, and there are so many that there's not a lawyer on earth who knows and understands them all, because that's what they want. They want as many laws as possible to come after you. Now, you would think that's basically the nutshell of what true libertarianism is. Now, there's plenty of people out there who claim to be libertarians, and they're not a libertarian. They say that they're a libertarian, but they're for socialism and redistribution of wealth. Well, then you're not a libertarian. You're a freaking socialist, knucklehead. I've had this argument with many people. But the primary focus of libertarianism is natural law theory. So there's positivism, which is the federal government is positivism, right? If the legislators take a law, they pass a law, they sign a law onto the books, and it violates your natural law, then that law is voided because it's a violation of your natural law. Now, there's thousands of laws on the books that violate your natural rights as a human being. Your natural rights as a human being, because you're a human being, these laws are yours. So, and that's what the Constitution is all about. So you got the First Amendment, the right to speak freely, right? Freedom of the press, practice your own religion. These are natural rights. This is what I have. The Congress shall not abridge the freedom of speech. They use the word "the" because it preceded the government. It preceded the revolution. It preceded government itself. The freedom of speech has always been there, because that's your natural right as a human being. Nobody can ever take that away. It's yours as your fingertips are yours, or your leg is yours. What you produce with your hands and your mind and your body, you own. And you have a right to live freely. Now, the second thing that a government can do would be to have a national defense to protect you from having your life or liberties taken from outside entities. So they're doing the same thing, is that it's basically one thing that government exists for. One thing: to protect your rights from being violated from others, whether from outside invasion or internal threats. Hence, the old oath to the Constitution that I swear to defend the Constitution from foreign enemies or domestic. That's the spirit of it. Not that I shall tax your license plate $50. That's theft. Taxation is theft. It's the unwilling transfer of money. Think about it. If you don't pay your taxes, what happens in the end? Somebody shows up with a gun and they want to take you to jail. You don't go to jail. You fight them off. They shoot and kill you. In the end, it's enforced by a gun. And not paying your taxes does not violate the rights of other people. Now, you would say, some people say, well, how are you going to have roads? How are you going to have this? How are you going to have anything? The government's not responsible for any of that. It's not supposed to be responsible for any of that. It has evolved into that through slow and gradual encroachments. Now, there weren't taxes after the American Revolution. There was government services that you paid for, and then that's how they made their money. But if you didn't want the service, you didn't pay for the service. But now, if you're 55 years old and your children are grown and you own a home, you're still paying for school services for nothing that your children are using. It's just the government's abuse of power and taxes. But I have some clips here of Javier that we're going to watch, and we're going to go over them. So let's listen to this.
El socialismo es siempre y en todo lugar.
Socialism is always and everywhere a violent, murderous, and impoverishing phenomenon. He's correct.
Un fenómeno violento, asesino y empobrecedor. Esa es la característica.
Those are the characteristics of socialism.
Del socialismo. El socialismo es siempre y en todo.
So, I mean, he's absolutely correct in that. Let's look at this one. These are all the people that turned out for his election.
Vamos!
Hundreds of thousands of people.
The legend.
Have we got a Bitcoin president with a beautiful orange Bitcoin sunset?
Hundreds of thousands of people have turned out to him. Now, he also vowed that he will not do business with any communist government.
You've said that as president of Argentina, you will not.
This is him on Tucker Carlson.
Do business with China.
De hecho, no solo no voy a hacer negocios con China.
Not only will I not do business with China,
no voy a hacer negocios con ningún comunista.
I won't do business with any communist.
Es decir, a ver, yo soy un defensor de la libertad, de la paz
peace and
y de la
democracy.
democracia. Los comunistas no entran ahí.
There's no room
Los
for
chinos no
communists
entran
there.
ahí. Putin no entra ahí.
There's no room for Putin there.
Digamos, Lula no entra
There's no room for Lula there.
ahí. Es decir, nosotros queremos
We want to be a moral lighthouse
ser el faro moral del continente. Nosotros
for our continent. We want to be
queremos
defenders
ser los defensores de la libertad, de la
of
democracia,
freedom, democracy, and diversity.
de la diversidad, de la paz.
Of peace.
Entonces,
From within the state.
nosotros desde el Estado no vamos a promover
We will not pursue any action
ningún tipo de acción con comunistas,
with communists or socialists.
ni socialistas. Eso no quiere decir que los argentinos
That doesn't mean that Argentinians can't trade.
no puedan comercializar. Si quieren comercializar
If they want to trade with China or Russia or with Brazil,
con China, con Rusia, con Brasil, con quien sea, problema de los argentinos.
that's up to each Argentinian. Oh my God. Amazing. That's up to each Argentinian. That's not my job to say who you can and can't trade with. Correct. That's as correct as you can be on government. Let's watch this other video.
¿En qué locura estamos viviendo? La locura de la corrección política.
What madness are we living in? The madness of stupid political correctness. Where basically it's like saying, oh, if you do not recite cool socialism, or if you are not woke, then you are violent, you are a danger to democracy. Come on, guys. Let's continue with this nonsense, and instead of being ranked 140 in their GDP, we're going to be the largest shanty town in the world. I mean, wokeness is, the woke mind virus has just destroyed the world. Leftist sons of bees, be afraid. Freedom goes forward. Hail freedom, damn it. I love this guy. He gets it. He gets it. So he has vowed to take down here's a list of a wall of all government programs, the education department, all these departments. He's going down the wall, just ripping them out.
And printing a picture of a US dollar bill with...
It's amazing. It's amazing. He just goes down out. We don't need a Department of Education. No. We don't need the Department of Equity, Inclusion, and Culture. And we don't need any department that does not violate, that violates the rights of people. That's basic government. And I'm telling you, you're going to see a major turnaround in Argentina. That's exactly what's going to happen. When you limit the government and you expand on individual freedom, and you expand on lowering taxes and lowering here's the video. This is what I was looking for. And lowering the government social programs, you see an economic increase. Here's the video. Ministry of Sports and Tourism. Out. Ministry of Culture. Out. Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. Out. Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. Out. Ministry of Public Works. Out. He's just going down the line, ripping out all of these just wasteful government spending. Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Out. Ministry of Labor, Employment, and Social Security. Out. Ministry of Education, Indoctrination. Out. Ministry of Transport. Out. Ministry of Health. Out. Ministry of Social Development. The thievery of politics is over. Long live damn liberty. This guy's a legend. I love this guy. I love this guy. You don't need a department. The government has no business in any of that. None of it. None of it. They're not here to provide you with things. You are here to provide yourself with things. You are free to provide yourself with whatever you want. That's your pursuit of happiness. The federal government does not have this role. And Donald Trump kind of made a similar statement that everybody is, of course, calling, this is a tweet from George Takei, who's just a moron. Who said Donald Trump, he just takes a screenshot of Donald Trump's the Truth Social post, and he says, anyone who wants this back in the White House doesn't understand the true danger of one man authoritarian rule. One man authoritarian rule. This is what Donald J. Trump had to say. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job once and for all. But people are calling him a fascist. They're calling him a fascist because he's saying he's going to get rid of fascism? How dumb can people be? Anyone who wants this back in the White House doesn't understand the true danger of one man's authoritarian rule. I mean, those all sound like really good things to me. That's what I commented. That these sound like really good things. Here's another one. Chris Jackson. I don't even know who this clown is. For all you folks who are screaming never Biden, I hope you realize the alternative. You don't have to guess what he is going to do. He's telling you. Yeah, he's going to get rid of corrupt government politicians who get in the way of elected officials actually doing what the voters voted them to do. What's wrong with that? I don't understand what's wrong with that. It doesn't make sense to me. Long live freedom. Guys, stop. Make sure you hit the like button, you drop a comment down below, and you follow this channel on YouTube. On the podcast, I need your help. I need you to leave a review. Please leave a 5-star review. Visit ryanfsamuels.com, and don't forget to tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on Rumble. Don't forget to call into the show at 904-552-3797. Leave a comment, question, or concern on our voicemail. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ryan Samuels Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.